Welcome back to episode 3, the final episode, where we are talking about the Spectrum building in Dagenham. Who's paying this £2 million cost? Is it the government? Now, currently in the UK, the government is Labour and the Prime Minister is Keir Starmer. So, are the government paying for it? If the government are paying for it, what are you waiting for? Why do you have everybody on hold? Get on with it. Do you know what I mean? Is it the materials? Is it the trades? Get on with it. Do you know what I mean? If the government have turned around and said, okay, well, we'll pay 50%, the freeholder needs to pay a quarter, and the leaseholder needs to pay the final quarter, okay. Or if it's like the government are like, listen, yeah, stop phoning my phone. I'm not interested. I'm not forking out any money. My point is, please, just let people know what you're doing. You can't, it's outrageous to have people just hanging on a string like this. Can you imagine? Your home is supposed to be your sanctuary. Do you know what I mean? It's supposed to be the one place that you have peace on this earth. You can't have stress out of doors and have stress in your house. Humans are not built for this amount of pressure. Now, are you going to turn around and say, right, the leaseholders need to cover the cost? On this channel, yeah, we deal with what you can buy on minimum wage. It is really, really unrealistic to slap a 33 grand bill on somebody on minimum wage for service charges. That's very serious. Very serious. Like, people bought their properties in good faith, getting on the property ladder, trying to step up in life, and you want to slap a 33 grand bill on them? Nah, that's not it. That's not it. Developers pledge. Okay, that might work for the bigger developers, but good luck to Billy, the little one-man developer, the little one-man builder down the road. Yeah, good luck with that, yeah? Now, for the owner-occupiers, can you imagine how they feel right now? They knew they had cladding issues. Do you know what I mean? London Fire Brigade issued an enforcement notice. They knew there were cladding issues. And then now they're just discombobulated. It must be so horrible, absolutely so horrible. Landlords, what does it say in your AST? Because a lot of you are renting out properties and you know there is a problem. What does it say in the AST in regards to, in the case of a fire, whose responsibility is it to rehouse the tenants? People sometimes go on about, renting this and renting that, but look at this situation. If you are a renter, you can terminate your lease. You've got 2 months. If you own the property, you're absolutely stuck, whether it be an owner-occupier or a landlord. Sales, as to be expected, are struggling in this development, and people have lost a huge amount of money. Where are the owner-occupiers currently living? Where are the tenants been rehoused to? Are the mortgagees still expecting a mortgage payment next month? There's a lot going on here. We will be back next video to the normal viewings. Peace.
Got out the bed, look out the window, and I saw flames climbing up to our balconies. But we all cut off because we got a scaffolding around. So I couldn't see much, but I could see it coming to our flat. So I woken up my partner just to say that it's fire on, it's spreading quickly. So we just grabbed literally something to put on, grab our dog, lead, and then we tried to woken up some neighbours and we rushed out of the building.
They started getting a smoke smell around 3 a.m. and they sensed that because of the noise there's a fire, and they had a 6-month baby as well. So managed to grab the baby and my daughter, and they managed to get out of the building.
I was at my friend's house and I just get called from someone. He said, your block is on fire. My small nephew, he started sleeping, and after I say, okay, I'm staying there. So there's no point to wake her up. So thanks God, she saved us life.
There's no fatality, so that's the first thing you think about, is that but obviously I've been with the people today who've been affected by it, and obviously they're shell shocked. You know, it's overwhelming really. So, you know, you go to bed and then you wake up and in the early hours and there's a fire of that nature. It just doesn't bear thinking about really.
So we got told after a few hours that this leisure centre will keep us for a little while. And now we just don't know, waiting whether we're going to be put in the hotel and then council will organise floods. Not a clue what's going to happen.
Me and my mum was sleeping, and then suddenly our uncle came in. He started screaming, saying, "Get out, get out, get out." I woke up, I saw smoke all over the house, so me and my mum, we ran outside.
And the smoke is,
Yeah,
the flakes of the smoke is coming out.
Yeah.
It's very thick one.
Yeah, and then we started hearing sirens, and then that's when all the fire trucks and the police came out.
So yesterday, 80 people had to evacuate a London burning building, and the patterns that happened is really consistent with the Grenfell Tower that happened in 2017. What makes this incident consistent with Grenfell Tower is that the materials being used to build the building in the first place was already flammable from the beginning, and the building had issues already when it came to the fire alarms not going off and fire safety in general not being up to standard with what the government wanted when it came to this building. Since 2017, the government actually did put an act together called the Building Safety Act, which allowed the council to be able to be held accountable to change the exterior of buildings which are flammable, and they were in the process of doing that, and over 4,000 buildings were deemed as flammable. So during this process since 2017, they've been trying to change the exterior of buildings, but there are some buildings that haven't been changed yet, and yesterday's building was one of them, unfortunately. When it came to the 4,000 buildings, there's only 29% that have been changed. So as you can see, it's a really slow process, and by them delaying them changing the exterior, that has caused this issue to be spread, this fire starting. We don't know the main issue of it starting, but it couldn't have spread as much as it would have if the council established change within the building, within the materials being used. Since yesterday, there hasn't been any reported deaths, and accidents do happen, but it's scary to know that the building that you're living in, if they use cheap materials, can really cost you your life and your belongings. I feel like this incident was preventable and foreseeable. If you're using flammable, cheap materials and someone has an accident, of course it's going to burn down the majority of the building. So that is negligence from the council side. So there really needs to be a sense of urgency when it comes to changing the exterior of these buildings. There's no sense of urgency right now. Only 29% of the upwards of 4,000 have been changed. So they really need to speed up the process so these things can be minimised.
Just over 7 years after the tragedy at Grenfell Tower, we had another fire yesterday in East London. And 7 years since Grenfell Tower, and the building that caught fire yesterday had the same non-compliant cladding that Grenfell Tower had. Now, I'm sure you all remember the fire that happened at Grenfell Tower. Multiple lives were lost, and the entire building was caught ablaze due to the non-compliant cladding that covered the building. The building that caught fire yesterday had this same non-compliant cladding, and that's why the entire building was engulfed in flames. Fire yesterday saw over 225 firefighters attend the scene. Come out with a statement since the fire happened, and they do state that it had the same cladding that Grenfell Tower had. I've received lots of DMs since the fire happened yesterday, since I uploaded the last video, and a lot of people are saying that these aren't the only buildings with this cladding, this non-compliant cladding. Apparently they're all over East London. Work had started on the building in Dagenham, and that's why scaffolding was all around it, but it took 7 years just to start the work. How many more fires are going to happen? How many more lives are going to be destroyed, homes lost, until the government, the councils, actually step up and remove this non-compliant cladding from the tower blocks that are all over East London?
So 7 years after Grenfell, another fire is torn through a building predominantly occupied by poorer people, and yet again the cladding is an issue. So this fire in Dagenham is yet another example how profit comes before the lives of the poor over and over again. So just last week, a company called Vulcan was sharing on Facebook that it was removing cladding from this building, and now the building's on fire and people are having to be evacuated, and over 200 firemen are being deployed to do that. And luckily there doesn't seem to be the death toll attached to this like there was with Grenfell, so that's a blessing. But why after 7 years is there still buildings that are, you know, it's covered with this dangerous cladding? Why are some people's lives not worth rushing to save? And when you think about this, this is very symptomatic, not just of what's happening in this country, but what is happening across the world, where people's lives, poorer people's lives, are just not valued.
Bro, there was a fire in a tower block in East London, Dagenham. A tower block in East London caught fire in the early hours of Bank Holiday Monday. Hear this, my bro. It was covered in non-compliant cladding and more than 100 people, including children, have been evacuated. Non-compliant cladding, does that ring a bell? Something like Grenfell? This building that got caught on fire, it was known to have a number of fire safety issues, bro. Scaffolding surrounding the building was in place to remove non-compliant cladding covering it, and a fire enforcement notice issued last year highlighted concerns inspectors had at the time. See, bro, they don't care. They know everything, they just don't care. How
100 people evacuated after a fire in Dagenham in East London. 200 firefighters involved and 2 people sent to hospital. The tower block caught fire early this morning, and the block is said to have fire safety issues, such as having non-compliant cladding. Cladding essentially means the skin of the building's structure.
A building in Dagenham went up in flames. But many people will be asking, after Grenfell, why is this still happening? You see, the Dagenham building had several fire concerns, just like Grenfell did. You know, flammable cladding. The same kind of cladding that big manufacturers provided to buildings, knowing full well that it wasn't in compliance with the fire building safety regulations established in the UK and in the EU. So instead of seeing red, the new Labour government, in its previous commitments under Keir Starmer in 2021, said we were going to get a new task force. We were going to get to see fast action on the flammable cladding that is on several thousands of buildings in the UK. But instead, many people might feel like what happened at Grenfell has a green light to happen again. Because unfortunately, according to Inside Housing and several experts, there are potentially 600,000 people who are in buildings with unsafe flammable cladding. That means that you could have a Grenfell Tower disaster, what has been described as corporate killing at any given time on any day of the week. But that can stop if enough people use their voices to end the scandal in cladding. Perhaps we can make a change and save lives in the process.